The County Council is considering once-a-decade updates to Howard County's general plan, which will shape our community's housing policies for the next 10 to 20 years. During public hearings held in June and July, testimony was given by over 40 housing advocates, including representatives of 15 community organizations.
I'm here to bear witness to you that we are in a housing crisis in this county.
Something that our county's older homeowners may not experience, but those in my generation do as they look to build families.
Howard County's housing-to-jobs ratio is currently much lower than nearly every other nearby suburban county.
What this translates to is an estimated undersupply of 20,000 housing units just in Howard County.
By intentionally limiting the supply of housing, we are driving up the cost to buy or rent a home.
The housing shortage has created intense competition and price increases in both for sale and rental housing markets.
It's an understatement to say that our housing market is failing to serve our community needs. It's more accurate to say that it's punishing people every day.
I received a 60-day notice, rent increase of $985.
While we decry landlords raising rents, they do so because they can, since the competition is so limited.
27% of households in Howard County are renters, and at least half of them are rent burdened.
Of these households, 6,800 of them pay more than 50% of gross income in rent.
Most of our clients are employed and educated, challenging the myth that families who struggle just need to work harder. They do work hard.
In my professional life as a pupil personnel worker for the Howard County Public School System, I work with families who struggle with health care and food insecurity. They are struggling because a majority of their income is going to housing.
As of May 5th, we have 548 HCPSS children who are homeless. That number is equivalent to the entire population of my son's middle school.
Just last Wednesday, CAC's Howard County Food Bank had 122 visitors in one day. We broke all of our records, and we know it's because families are paying their rent instead of eating.
I get dozens of calls every week from people asking for rental assistance, for help with their eviction notices, for help with their utility bills and shut-off notices.
Senior renters have seen their rents far outpace their pensions. Senior homeowners want to downsize and find that there are very few affordable options.
A growing number of seniors cannot afford any new houses being built for them, and some feel stuck in a big house they no longer need or can afford to maintain. At the same time, apartments for limited income seniors are not being built anymore.
I consider myself lucky to have been able to purchase a home on a teacher's salary all those years ago. But when I sold my house, the profit was not sufficient to buy myself another home. I am now renting. My rent is over 4 times what my mortgage was.
Young adults are hurting as well.
Why would students with crippling student loan debt return home where the cost of living has become prohibitively high and their money gets drained on rent?
We both have full-time jobs, college degrees. I have my master's. We have good credit. We make what should be a livable wage, and we had hoped to one day raise a family here in the Howard County communities and school system that raised us. But I can see that's not going to happen.
I have a son who has graduated from college, living here with me, and I'm concerned about his future. I want him and others looking for the basic need of housing to be able to have that.
I'm an adjunct professor of art at 30 years old with 2 degrees and unable to afford housing in Howard County. With a solid education and full employment, who would believe I would not be able to return?
People with disabilities, including nearly half of those seniors, are more vulnerable.
Both people with disabilities and direct support professionals run into the same problem. This county is basically unaffordable.
This is crucial if the essential workers for people with disabilities and older adults who provide support services are able to live in the community in which they work. And presently, most do not.
Many who could provide support in the county simply won't because they can't afford to live here.
I think the council just needs to take the recommendations of the planning board and maybe add more housing that's affordable for people with disabilities.
We might not have designed our housing policies to systemically punish our most vulnerable residents, but that's the result, and we have to acknowledge it and we have to fix it.
I find it important for our county to take concrete and meaningful action to ensure that people who work in Howard County can reasonably afford to live here too.
Most of the people that we employ do not live in Howard County. We have to pay an exceptionally higher rate of pay to get them to commute out to Howard County. We currently have a workforce shortage. We have about 55 vacancies of our 300 positions.
We've heard from entry-level employees whose salaries are $75,000 to $80,000 per year. There's a lack of affordable housing close to the office.
Additionally, the adults who serve our students are struggling with housing. More than half of our HCPSS employees earn less than 60% of Howard County's median income. Our shortage of teachers and paraeducators and other frontline workers in Howard County, as small business owners will tell you, and our workforce housing shortage are related public policy failures.
Our housing shortage is endangering our community's economic health and quality of life. We have to face reality. There is a crisis.
For the county's economic health, we must be planning for more housing and for housing that's affordable to a wider range of people. Generally, housing has traditionally been regarded as a private sector function to be controlled by local government. It's clear from the HOCO by Design report, however, that housing like roads, fire protection, parks, and schools is a public need, a public good that requires planning, not just restrictions.
If we choose not to expand our housing supply in the general plan update, we need to be clear. It's not a choice to preserve our status quo or to protect our schools. It's a choice to put our county on the path to a deteriorating quality of life.
In order to achieve more housing, the county needs to add density in a far greater number of areas and must increase the planned number of permits per year.
One of the best things we can do to make housing more affordable for all income levels is to increase the supply of housing. I'm going to repeat this possibly controversial statement that every liberal, conservative, and centrist economist agrees on. Building more housing makes housing more affordable. Restricting the supply of housing increases the cost of housing.
I would like to see the stock of affordable housing in the county dramatically expanded, but as a minimum, I support the goals of the Housing Affordability Coalition.
At least 2,000 new homes should be built each year, of which 25% or a minimum of 500 homes should be affordable to households earning below 60% of the median income. Of these affordable homes, we agree that at least 10% should support residents with disabilities.
We are not asking that the county produce or own the housing. We just need the county to allow it to be built.
What we can best speak to are the stories we hear from members of our faith communities speaking of the need for affordable housing and the promise of greater equity in housing opportunities. Members speak about the need for more styles of housing to address what's been called the missing middle, providing duplex, triplex, quadplex, or accessory dwelling units that allow homeowners to live the way they want to live.
There's a false dichotomy here in our county that says we can't have both housing and schools. Personally, I think with the right vision and leadership, we can do both.
Young people know that we need both more housing and more school capacity, and we cannot leave one or both behind.
For any substantive increase in housing development to occur, more school seats need to be created. We all know new school capacity is expensive and that our county is already struggling to pay for large backlog of deferred school maintenance. We therefore urge the council to identify new funding sources to meet the demand for school facilities and capital improvements. At the same time, the county must devote similar resources to meet the demand for affordable housing. The county's long-term economic viability depends upon addressing our significant and critical housing needs, which in today's environment requires finding new funding for both housing and schools.
Let's start living up to what the magazines say about Howard County being one of the best places to live in America by making it accessible and affordable to all of our residents and employees.
Let's grow our economy and extend housing opportunities to our young people, our seniors, our frontline workers, our pandemic heroes. Let's extend housing opportunities to our neighbors with disabilities, our neighbors struggling with homelessness, our neighbors choosing between food and rent. Let's grow our neighborhoods and our transportation infrastructure. Let's grow our small businesses by extending to their employees the opportunity to work and live and pay taxes in this beautiful community.
The County Council will vote on the general plan updates in the fall. Here are ways you can get involved in the campaign for more equitable and affordable housing. Send your written testimony to the County Council at the email address shown here. Plan to attend the next public hearing of the Council at 7 p.m. on September 20th, 2023. Join the Housing Affordability Coalition using the web address shown here. We'll keep you updated with news, education, and other opportunities to get involved.